My Little Pony Friendship is Magic was really popular back in the 2010s in its heyday. Get it? Heyday? Because they're horses? Yeah, I'm sorry. But after Season 3 ended in 2013, Hasbro decided, hey, let's capitalize off the popularity of this show, even though we were going to end it after Season 3. But forget about that. Let's make a movie. No, not that movie. That wouldn't come out till 2017. I'll talk about My Little Pony the movie eventually, don't you worry. I am, of course, today talking about the 2013 cult classic animated feature film, Equestria Girls. Yeah, that's enough of that. I'm not getting copyright struck over 9 seconds of footage. You know, it's kind of weird that this is the first time we see Twilight after the Season 3 finale where she becomes an alicorn. A finale, by the way, which nobody had any problems with whatsoever. Totally didn't cause a bunch of controversy. The main 6 are in the Crystal Empire for the Princess Summit. I don't know what the Princess Summit is, nor do we ever hear anything about it again after this movie. So, I love convenient plot devices, don't you? Honestly, the best part about this opening is just the fact of Twilight wiping out while trying to use her new wings. It's just nice to see that she's not quite used to them yet, but she will get used to them later on in the show. Character growth, am I right? Oh, hey look, it's Flash Sentry. So after briefly meeting up with the other princesses, the main 6 head to bed, where we get Twilight's arc for this movie pretty much laid out in plain sight. You see, Twilight really doesn't know what it means to be a princess yet, and she's really afraid of potentially being put in charge of a kingdom. Also, Twilight can't seem to keep her wings down. You know, there's a wing boner joke in there somewhere, but I'm better than that. Wait a minute. Roll the opening credits, and I cannot talk about these opening credits enough, because not only are they really like trippy, like kaleidoscopy things, it's also set to a dubstep remix of the show's main theme. Probably can't show it, probably can't play it, because I'll probably get copyright claimed. I have been working on this video for a very long time, and this green screen thing was kind of my last resort, because I'm lazy. I'm not lazy, it's just, this is a lot of work to film and set time aside. I wanted this video to be done like 2 weeks ago, but Hasbro likes to claim the video every time I try to upload it. But not when I initially upload it, or like an hour or two later. No, I'm talking like the video would get claimed like a full 24 to 48 hours later, which is horseshit. But that's a whole nother can of worms that I'm not gonna get into. Hopefully this time it works. A mysterious cloaked unicorn sneaks into Twilight's room and steals her crown and element of harmony. Twilight and her friends give chase, but in the process, the crown ends up going through a magic mirror that happens to have a portal to another world that only opens every 30 moons. The unicorn who stole the crown is Sunset Shimmer, a former student of Princess Celestia. And yeah, it's a little cliche to have the villain of your movie be a character we've never heard of. It's like, oh, well, actually, she was my student before. She was my student once, but she lost sight, and I always hoped that she would one day return. There are so many coincidences that would have to happen for Sunset Shimmer's plan to work. Assuming that the portal was closed up until recently, how did Sunset know that Twilight was a princess? How did she know that her crown was also her element of harmony? How did she know the elements of harmony even existed? Because up until Twilight and her friends found them, they were thought to be a myth. And 3, how did she know that the mirror got moved from the Canterlot throne room to the Crystal Empire, where Twilight was going to be during the time the portal was open while she had her crown? It's a lot of coincidences. Or plot convenience, that's probably more likely what it is. Let's call a spade a spade. So Princess Celestia tasked Twilight with retrieving her crown before the portal closes in 3 days. Arbitrary time restrictions for movies like this are pretty par for the course, so Twilight bravely steps through the portal and Spike runs after her, and they wake up in the other world with Spike being a dog and Twilight being a... Why is she still purple? Yeah, the designs this time in this movie are just weird. I mean, the proportions just don't sit right for me. I can get used to that, but the thing that really bugs me the most is the fucking like knee-high boots, because like I get the point is to make them look like hooves, but it just contrasts so much with the skinny legs and arms that it just ends up making them look weird. I don't know. At the end of the day, it's just a personal nitpick. It doesn't really affect the movie or anything. It's just I don't like it. Twilight quickly has to acclimate to walking on two legs like a baby gazelle. Also, she has no magic here because, yeah, she doesn't have a horn. Welcome to Canterlot High School, home of the Wonder Cults. As Twilight is walking around getting used to her new surroundings, we get our first song of the movie. That's right, this movie is a musical. And your mileage might vary on the songs in this movie, but as a recovering theater kid myself, I kind of like the songs because I understand the thematic purposes to drive the plot forward. Speaking of which, our first song, Strange New World. And there's no way I remember any of these songs after like 11 years. That's quite like this. Everything is turned around. This crazy world is upside down. Fuck, I'm like a sleeper agent. Strange New World is a great song that shows, as the lyrics say, it's Twilight trying her best to make sense of this new world she's found herself in. After that song is concluded, Twilight stumbles upon Fluttershy getting bullied by Sunset Shimmer, and Twilight stands up to Sunset Shimmer, who treats her like a typical mean girl. And then we get a pretty much one-to-one recreation of Twilight meeting Fluttershy from Season 1, Episode 1 of Friendship is Magic, all the way down to her getting excited about Spike. Turns out, Fluttershy found the crown when it came out of the portal and dinged her in the fucking head. Fluttershy turned the crown into Principal Celestia, and yeah, you thought I had a problem with Twilight's design in this movie. Celestia just looks bad. Like, it's the hair, it's the thick ass lips, it's the pantsuit that is not doing you any favor, sweetie. I don't know. I'm sure the designs get more refined as the movies go on, but as for the first time around, it is not looking good for you, Tia. Turns out that the crown is the prize for winning the Princess of the Fall Formal, which is basically like prom queen. And, well, Sunset Shimmer has won every year for like the last 3 years. Why does she look like that? She's like so off model. Twilight rationalizes that in order to get her crown back, she just has to win the Princess of the Fall Formal. Easier said than done, I guess, because when she tells Fluttershy that she wants to run, Fluttershy informs her that nobody runs against Sunset Shimmer. And even if Twilight wanted to win, she'd have to unite all the stereotypical high school cliques of Canterlot High. You know, the jocks, the rockers, the nerds, the eco kids, the theater kids. Shout out to my theater kids out there. Represent District 11. As for Principal Celestia's advice, Twilight seeks out the head of the party planning committee, who is, of course, Pinkie Pie. I mean, yeah, that checks out. Also, apparently Pinkie Pie has beef with Fluttershy. I don't know what that's about.
Do you have a twin sister who lives in the city, has a pet dog named Spike that looks just like that one?
Shh, Pinkie, you can't do that. Pinkie, no. That's like 3 movies. That's the 3rd movie. That's Friendship Games. We can't do that yet. We haven't done Rainbow Rocks yet, Pinkie. We don't even know if this shit's gonna be successful. Just stop breaking the 4th wall. Bad. Twilight writes her name on the ballot in chicken scratch, because yeah, she's not used to using fingers. We then get introduced to Applejack, who warns Twilight that Sunset Shimmer is a backstabber. Yeah, AJ, and grass is green and the sky is blue. It's a fact of life. Sunset finds out that she's no longer running unopposed and confronts Twilight.
Pop quiz. What happens when you bring an element of harmony into an alternate world?
Nobody knows what happens when you bring an element of harmony to another world because nobody's ever done it before. And also, like I said before, nobody knew for sure that the elements actually existed. They were thought to be a myth. The Lion, the Witch, and the audacity of this bitch. Sunset tasked her 2 goons. I shouldn't say goons. That word has been ruined by the internet. Sunset sends her 2 henchmen, Snips and Snails, to record Twilight, possibly for a smear campaign. Twilight finds the library where she starts doing research on this new world, and I'm sorry, just watching Twilight try to use a computer is like watching my grandma try to use her iPad. It's hopelessly funny. Snips and Snails use their phones to record all of Twilight's shenanigans in the library. I'm sure that won't come into play later, right? Spike and Twilight spend the night in the library since, yeah, they have nowhere else to go. And Twilight manages to find the Canterlot High yearbook. And, you know, I remember my yearbook. I remember all those photos from freshman year. And, ew, why do they look like that? What? Who is in charge of this? Why? Because they don't even look like the CMC are in this movie, and they look fine. You can draw tinier versions of these models, and it's not bad. Why y'all taking such liberties on this shit and then zooming up on it? Sunset I can understand because that was just like a short panning shot. But this is like you're doing a full-on zoom in of this. And it's not the only time we see this picture and it looks like this. It's obvious that the girls were friends at some point and something or someone, Sunset Shimmer, drove a wedge between them. The next day, everyone is giving Twilight weird looks and laughing at her until she's pulled aside by Rarity, whose design is really the only one that kind of just clicks for me, you know? I don't know, it just works. Rarity tries to disguise Twilight so no one can recognize her, and Twilight is obviously confused until Pinkie, Fluttershy, and Applejack come in and show her a video posted by Sunset Shimmer.
What does it say about our school if we give someone like this such an important honor?
You know, I was only half joking about the smear campaign. The girls start arguing with each other, and Twilight shows them the picture in the yearbook saying that they used to be friends, and what happened? Turns out, Sunset Shimmer did exactly what I said she would do. She drove a wedge between them. She texted Pinkie, pretending to be Fluttershy, to ruin her silent auction with a big party. Every time Rarity wanted to help Pinkie Pie with party planning and decorations, Sunset sent her an email pretending to be Pinkie, saying that she didn't need any help. And when Applejack asked Rainbow Dash to bring the softball team to one of her bake sales, Sunset pretended to be Applejack and told her that the date was changed. So no one showed up, making a liar out of Applejack. Instead of communicating about the issues, they all just kind of stopped talking to each other. Applejack and Rainbow Dash talk things out, and do you mind if I go on a little bit of a rant about Rainbow Dash's design in this movie? Cool. So I don't think her design is necessarily bad. The open collared shirt and the t-shirt combo works, and the sweatbands do a great job of showing off her athletic tomboy nature. The biggest issue I have is that they put her in a skirt. Now, I don't think it's bad. It doesn't ruin the design because they did put spats underneath her skirt, which, yeah, okay, you're not going to play sports in a skirt with nothing covering you up. Also, it's a kid's movie. But I just don't think she would. She's the captain of every sports team. You wouldn't play soccer wearing a skirt unless you're Scottish. And she also suffers from the same problem I have with Twilight's design, the big-ass weird knee-high boots. I mean, seriously, what the fuck? I know things like this do exist in real life. I'm not, like, ignorant to that. But you're not going to play sports in them. It feels like they tried to unsuccessfully marry the two parts of her personality that they wanted. They wanted her to be the sporty, athletic tomboy, and they also wanted her to look like a cute high school girl in a skirt. It just really doesn't work. And I know they can do better because later on in the specials, we get this design, which is leagues better with the tights, with the rainbow lightning bolts on the side, and the running shoes and the hoodie. It's not that different. It just goes to show that a little wardrobe change can go a long way for some characters. Okay, thank you for coming to my TED Talk. We can now get back to the movie. Rainbow Dash agrees to help Twilight on the condition that she can beat her in a 1-to-5 game of soccer, which Twilight, of course, loses because, of course she does, she's an egghead. But Rainbow Dash agrees to help her anyway because she says that the Princess of the Fall formal has to have heart, and Twilight showed she had heart by trying to win despite the odds. But Sunset Shimmer was off lurking in the background with Snips and Snails cooking up an evil plan. Hey look, it's Flash Sentry, not to be confused with Flash Magnus. Twilight and the girls come up with a plan to show the whole school the real Twilight Sparkle, and we get our next song of the movie, the Cafeteria Song, which looks and plays like a scene straight out of High School Musical. In fact, I think there is a scene like this in High School Musical too. Holy shit, Vinyl Scratch's eye color. Oh my god, you just kind of had to be there. So everybody headcanoned her eye color as red, and when it was revealed to be magenta here, I think everybody had a conniption. They did also show it in the show, but that was just like kind of brushed away. But when they actually really focused in on it here, oh my god, people had goddamn conniptions over a fictional character's eye color. You just had to be there. You just had to be there, man. It was crazy time in the fandom. Well, Sunset Shimmer sees this surge in school pride, so she sends Snips and Snails to destroy the gym and frame Twilight using doctored pictures. And ew, why does she look like that? Luna, what did they do to you? I thought Celestia looked bad. Girl, they fucked your ass up. I am so sorry. But you know what's weird? They have computers in this world, right? So they know that, so like, assumedly, like, photo editing software like, I don't know, MS Paint or Photoshop or like Paint.net exist here. They're not even digitally doctored. They're physically clipped out photos of Twilight's match with Dash, pasted over photos of the destroyed gym. Like, Flash Sentry to the rescue, by the way, for finding them in the garbage. Also, how dumb are you to throw away the evidence in garbage on campus? Keep that shit on you and take it and throw it away at home or in a random dumpster, like out at the mall or something, man. Come on. Amateurs. Well, thanks to Flash Sentry, Twilight is free to continue running for Princess of the Fall Formal, but unfortunately, due to the damage done to the gym, the dance is going to have to be postponed till tomorrow, which causes Twilight to rightfully freak out because she doesn't want to be stuck here for 30 moons, which is 2 years, give or take. So she runs off to what I assume is Rarity's boutique, the Carousel Boutique. But we get this nice shot of her in the mirror talking with her pony form reflected back at her, and it's not like, it's not a Kubrick shot or anything, but I mean, you know, it's nice. It's appreciated. Twilight decides to tell the girls the truth. And before she can get the words out, Pinkie Pie does the most Pinkie Pie thing possible.
You're from an alternate world and you're a pony princess there, and the crown actually has a magical element embedded in it that helps power up other magical elements, and without it, they don't work anymore, and you need them to help protect your magical world. And if you don't get the crown tonight, you'll be stuck in this world, and you won't be able to get back for like a really, really long time.
The girls, of course, believe her. Kind of also helps when you hear the talking dog. They go to fix the gym up, set to another song, Let's Come Together, which, no, it's alright. It's, again, thematic purpose. It's a musical. But along the course of the song, more students do come in and help out to fix the gym together, and the dance is back on for tonight. They also start voting, and everyone's like, yeah, man, Twilight, you got my vote. You got my vote, Twilight, for sure. Yeah, man. I'm voting for you 100%, girly. Well, with the dance back on, it's time for the girlies to get in fashion in another song. This is our big night where they find their dresses for the prom. I mean, these girls be showing up in style. They show up in a limousine like, damn, that's that Rarity money. Because, yeah, we know damn well none of these other girls can afford that. Twilight wins the crown by a landslide because, yeah, obviously. So, Sunset and her henchmen resort to dognapping Spike and to lure the girls out, and then Sunset threatens to smash the portal with a sledgehammer, stranding them both there forever. And despite the odds, Twilight actually takes a stand.
So go ahead, destroy the portal. You are not getting this crown.
So after the world's most important game of keep away, Sunset gets the crown and puts it on, turning into a raging she-demon and also turning her two henchmen into demons. Here's where she reveals her plan, and it's dumb. It's dumb as fuck. Her plan is to brainwash the student body of CHS and use them as her own, and this is her quote, personal teenage army to invade Equestria. I don't think that would work very well because you have alicorns. Like, first of all, your army of teenagers is going to turn into ponies when they go through the portal anyway. The unicorns aren't going to know how to use their magic. The Pegasi aren't going to know how to fly. And the Earth ponies are going to be fucking useless. Maybe good as cannon fodder or shields. So your invasion is going to fail because Equestria has all kinds of crazy wacky shit. But thankfully, turns out that the magic of friendship transcends dimensions, and using the magic in the crown, Twilight and the other girls turn into toyetic horse girls because, yes, they will make wonderful toys. That is the purpose of this film at its core. To make a beautiful, wonderful, uncanny valley dress-up doll toy line to compete with the Bratz dolls. I'm not joking. And they defeat Sunset Shimmer with the power of homosexuality. I mean the power of friendship. And they put her ass in the fucking dirt. I mean, seriously, big ass fucking crater. Also, really lucky that there were no electrical lines or gas lines or like a water main in that section, because like she would have fucking died. Can you imagine they just put her in the dirt and just huge explosion, or she fucking drowns? That'd be crazy. But they decide to give Sunset Shimmer a second chance and let her learn the magic of friendship. We then get a nice scene of Celestia giving Twilight her crown, and I love this scene.
A true princess in any world leads not by forcing others to bow before her, but by inspiring others to stand with her. We have all seen that you are capable of just that. I hope you see it too, Princess Twilight.
Even though it's not her Celestia, Princess Celestia, her words still ring true. You see, Twilight's arc in this movie is trying to figure out what it means to be a princess and feeling like she earned her crown, which she literally does here. It also does a good job of setting up her arc for the next season of the show, being season 4, where she tries to figure out what she's the princess of. Or maybe I'm just reading into it too much, but when have I ever done that? Anyway, we have some time before the portal closes, so let's go dancing. And I love seeing Flash Sentry match her freak. You gotta find someone who matches your freak. After that, Twilight heads back to Equestria just in time for the portal to close. And have they just been standing there for the last like 2 days waiting for her with bated breath? Because if so, that is hilarious. Hey, look, it's Flash Sentry, not to be confused with Flash Magnus. Also, this is like one of the few times you will see his pony form. I think he literally appears in the show proper like 3 times after this as like a background character. So you only ever really hear him talk in Equestria Girls media. It's just so funny that they had this romantic interest introduced and it goes nowhere. And that's, the end of the movie. But honestly, as rough as Equestria Girls is, it's still an enjoyable experience. Sunset Shimmer doesn't really come off as a threat, at least until the very end where she turns into a raging she-demon. That's really my only gripe with the villain, is sometimes a movie is only as good as its villain, and with what's to come in the next couple movies that have like way better villains, okay, except Legend of Everfree, but I'll get to that eventually. Although I will say, Snips and Snails being her lackeys is a great call. They have a great dynamic and make for great comic relief. Equestria Girls is not as good as the movies that would come after it, but that's a story for another time. So join me next time as I look at what most would consider to be the best Equestria Girls movie. Right off the bat, the movie opens with a parallel shot from the first movie, with both opening on a shot of the moon and the stars. But Rainbow Rocks wastes no time introducing us to our antagonist this time around, as we're quickly introduced to the Dazzlings, consisting of Aria Blaze, Sonata Dusk, and their bad bitch of a leader, Adagio Dazzle. They're a group of sirens who use their magical voices to stir up negative emotions to feed on them, but were banished from Equestria to this world by Starswirl the Bearded. They witnessed the final battle from the end of the first movie. I love when sequels do stuff like that, and quickly realized that equestrian magic has made its way into this world and plan to use it to, and I quote,
make everyone in this pathetic little world adore us.
Whoa, hey, whoa. Before we roll the opening credits, I think we should go over the prequel shorts that were released before the film came out. The first short, titled Music to My Ears, follows DJ Poem 3, nope, still can't do it. It follows Vinyl Scratch as she listens to her dubstep and goes about her day. It's kind of like a music video. I mean, it's not important to the plot of the movie or anything. I mean, she will be, technically, later on. We'll get to that. But this is more just more like a fan service thing, The second short, titled Guitar Centered, follows Rainbow Dash and the gang as Dash is looking to get a new guitar since hers has... I'd seen better days. But her and Trixie reach for the same guitar, so in order to decide who gets it, they decide to have a shred off, and just as it looks like Rainbow Dash is about to lose, she all of a sudden ponies up and hits Trixie with a, I don't know, what would you call that? A sonic rock boom? I actually like the sound of that. We're gonna go with that. Sonic rock boom. And wins the contest so she can get the guitar, but decides to choose the guitar that she won the competition with instead. Also probably because the one that they were fighting over cost $12,000. Yeesh. Well, that is one member of the band down. You've got your lead guitarist. Now you just need a little bit of percussion. Thankfully, the third short, titled Hamstocalypse Now, that's a pun for something that I probably don't get, follows Fluttershy and Rarity as they're helping at the Animal Rescue Center cleaning the hamster enclosure. Fluttershy cleans the enclosure no problem, but Rarity ends up losing control over the hamsters, who start fighting amongst each other. That is, until Fluttershy's tambourine falls out of her bag and puts them in a trance. While playing the tambourine, Fluttershy ponies up, and well, who knew hamsters could be so sassy? Well, that's a little bit of percussion there, but you still need a drummer to keep the tempo. Well, it's a good thing that in Pinky on the One, Rainbow Dash is looking for a drummer for the Rainbooms, and also Pinky likes to stim by tapping on things, kinda like a drum set. Get it? After a while, Dash has the bright idea of putting Pinky behind a drum set, and well, what do you know? She's a natural, and she ponies up. I'm starting to notice a pattern here, are you? That's the drummer out of the way, but we need a little spice, you know, like piano. Player Piano opens with Rarity trying to push a baby grand across campus. Not exactly the lightest instrument, but she enlists the help of some, human diamond dogs. Ooh, didn't expect to see that today. I mean, they look like diamond dogs, I guess. Anyway, the diamond dudes, carry the piano across campus to the band room for Rarity, but by the time they get there, the band's time in the room is already up, meaning they'll have to move to the gym, which is all the way on the other side of campus. Before Rarity can freak out, Pinky has the bright idea of having her play the guitar, since, you know, it's a portable instrument. Rarity tries it out, and well, what do you know? She ponies up. So there's a little bit of guitar for you, a little bit of spice. Well, now you just need a bass player to round everything out. It's a good thing that the next short, A Case for the Bass, does just that, as we find out that Granny Smith accidentally sold Applejack's bass at a garage sale for $2 to none other than the Flim Flam Brothers to sell in their Everything Under the Sun Emporium. I'm sorry, that's really fun to do their voice. Applejack tries to give them back their $2 in exchange for the bass, but the brothers don't believe that it's hers, despite the fact that her initials are embroidered on the strap. Oh, but I mean, come on, that could stand for anything, right? Like Andrew Jackson. Applejack proves them wrong by playing the bass and ponies up, so the brothers decide to give her the bass back in exchange for helping advertise their Everything Under the Sun Emporium. I'm sorry, it's really fun to do that voice. And that's the whole band together. Honestly, these shorts are really fun, showing the girls forming their band, the Rainbooms, but also still illustrating that they still have some magic from Twilight's crown within them. But before we get into the movie proper, there's one more thing that I want to talk about. And it's not a short, it's a music video that's also a prequel to the movie that is set to a song sung by Sunset Shimmer titled My Past Is Not Today. First thing first, this is a phenomenal song. Okay, Rebecca Soiquette is a beautiful singer. I can't get over that. Can't stress that enough. Second of all, the message of the song is really powerful, showing that your past actions don't define you, and showing that Sunset Shimmer has grown as both a person and a friend. It's just really solid, and we'll get more into her character arc in the movie, trust me. Okay, now we can roll the opening credits. And this time, we get a brand new visual set to an original song, Rainbow Rocks, and it's awesome. I seriously would play the whole thing if it wouldn't get me copyright struck. So Sunset Shimmer is still acclimating to her new life of friendship with the help of the CHS versions of the girls. The girls are getting ready to play in the Canterlot High musical showcase, and during the rehearsal we get our first song of the movie, Better Together, and it's a banger. There's no two ways about it.
I don't suppose any of our friends from, out of town might come. It being a special charity event and all.
He's still looking for his horse girl princess. She's a horse, bro. You want to fuck a horse. Get over her. Sunset Shimmer's arc for this movie is coming to terms with what she did at the fall formal while also trying to defy the expectations that the student body has of her because of it. So in order to help get ahead of the curve, Sunset decides to give a tour to the new girls at school and, well, shock and surprise, it's the Dazzlings. I love the Dazzlings dynamic, man. They're like the Three Stooges with how they act.
And what you would have said if you weren't the worst.
You are!
You'll have to excuse them. They're idiots.
Later at lunch, Sunset tries to tell the other girls that the new girls give her a weird vibe, but before she can explain, the Dazzlings burst in and give us our second song of the movie, Let's Have a Battle, and it's... Okay, so I'm not that big of a music theory buff, but do you mind if I try my best to go on a little bit of an amateur music theory rant here? Cool. So this song not only serves to establish the Dazzlings as a credible threat to the Rainbooms, but it also shows that they are an ever-present threat this time, unlike Sunset Shimmer in the first movie. Not saying she was bad, she just didn't feel threatening. The Dazzlings are automatically establishing themselves as a threat by putting all the student body under their spell, trying to start a battle of the bands. But from a musical standpoint, the ending of the chorus and the resolution is really where it stands, because instead of, you know, they do this. Instead of what I would expect as like Battle of the Bands, go up and up, but they end up staying flat. They build this sort of tension and dissonance, and it's good, may not be the proper terms. Oh my god, and the key change when they get to the second chorus where they really have the student body under their spell is just mwah, chef's kiss. Okay, thank you for listening to my amateur music theory rant. I really hope I managed to convey why I think this song is good without making a complete ass out of myself. Let's get back to the plot. Sunset and the gang go to warn the principals about the Dazzlings, but it's too late as the Dazzlings have already gotten to them and put them under their spell. So just like that, the friendly musical showcase is now a battle of the bands. Interestingly enough, Sunset and the girls appear to be unaffected by the Dazzlings' magic, probably due to the magic within them from Twilight's crown. Speaking of which, the girls wish that Twilight was here to help them because she'd know what to do. And Sunset has the bright idea of getting in touch with her through a magical book given to her by Princess Celestia, where any message she writes appears in a corresponding book back in Equestria. And, well, luckily enough, that very same book is getting delivered to Princess Twilight's library, allowing her to get the message that her Canterlot High friends need her. Twilight explains the background of the Sirens and how they were banished by Starsore the Bearded, and then, using some of her good old technobabble magical know-how, uses the magic from the book to reopen the portal. Twilight and Spike once again step through the portal to save the human world, and right off the bat it's made pretty clear that Twilight still doesn't fully trust Sunset Shimmer, which is, you know, fair. She did steal your crown and turn into a raging she-demon and try to enslave an entire high school as to make her own personal army to invade your home, so pretty fair. Twilight fills in the girls on the Sirens and rationalizes that some of her crown's magic must have stayed behind when she left, and that they can use that magic to defeat the Sirens just like how they defeated Sunset Shimmer.
No offense.
None taken. I'm used to it.
Using the magic of friendship goes,
Friendship is magic!
I'm sorry, it just gets me every time. Everybody's just staring at him like, what are they doing? The Dazzlings turn the situation on its head and use it to once again stir up the student body's emotions. And the Dazzlings also realize that the source of the magic they're looking for is the girls. Twilight can't seem to wrap her head around why the magic of friendship failed, but Sunset rationalizes that because the Sirens use a musical spell, that the only way to break their spell is with a musical counterspell. Also, it's a little small thing here, but I like how Twilight still has mannerisms like she has hooves. It's just, It's just a nice little thing that I like. It's a nice little detail. So the girls come up with the idea to participate in the Battle of the Bands for real, since it'll be the perfect place to have everyone together to break the spell. Twilight joins the Rainbooms as a new lead singer and sets out to write a musical counterspell. But instead of sleeping in the library like she did last time, Pinkie invites all the girls to her house for a sleepover where they do all the things teenage girls do, I assume, like updating their status and taking selfies. How do you do, fellow kids? We know what you like. We see that Twilight is struggling to write the counterspell, and we actually end up getting a really nice scene between her and Sunset Shimmer.
Must be nice to have everyone always looking to you for answers to their problems, instead of waiting for you to cause a problem.
Just because everyone expects something from you doesn't mean it's guaranteed to happen.
But that doesn't stop them from expecting it.
Which only makes things harder because the last thing you want to do is let everybody down.
You see, Twilight's arc in the first movie was feeling like she didn't earn her crown, but by the end feels that she rightfully earned her crown in Wings. But this time around, her arc is learning to deal with the expectations that come with her new status and title. While on the flip side, Sunset Shimmer is still learning to not live up to the expectations the other students have of her and not letting down her friends. Something that they both have in common. This scene really sets up Sunset as the second protagonist of this movie next to Twilight, sort of a dual protagonist type of thing that will really have a great payoff in the end of the movie, but I'm getting ahead of myself, we'll get there. Also, Equestria Girls mod is real, and she can hurt you. The progress on the counterspell is going, pretty bad, but there's no time to work on it anymore because it's time for the first round of the Battle of the Bands. Since the spell isn't done, the girls are just going to compete for real to move on to the next round with our next song, Shake Your Tail. But unfortunately, it is plagued with sabotage from the other groups. I mean, seriously, Rarity's outfit gets sabotaged by Magnets, by Photo Finish and her group. Fluttershy gets a spotlight put on her by Snips and Snails, causing her to run around. Pinkie tries to liven up the scenario with a confetti cannon, but the confetti ends up getting caught in Twilight's throat. It's just a whole shit show, but the song is good enough to get them to move on to the next round. But once they're backstage, we do see that there is a bit of discourse between the girls as they start arguing with each other. I'm sure that won't grow into an important issue later. As Sunset tries to confront the Dazzlings, but to be honest, they kind of just end up putting her in her place. Getting humbled there real quick. The Dazzlings then perform their second song, Under Our Spell, which is the background song for the montage for the next few rounds of the Battle of the Bands. I'd just like to take a moment to show just how great Adagio's facial expressions are. I mean, seriously, she has some of the most smug and smarmy faces in this whole movie, and I love her for it. Oh my god, she just oozes this smug aura. Twilight is still struggling with the counterspell and it's not ready, and before you know it, it's time for the semifinals of the Battle of the Bands against Trixie and her band. And you want to know how hard they cooked for the soundtrack of this movie? They wrote an entire song for Trixie's band, and it's awesome, and you don't even get to hear all of it. The next song up is Awesome As I Wanna Be, and it's awesome. There's no two ways around it. It's basically Rainbow Dash's character theme, and it's amazing. Unfortunately, we only get the first verse here because Dash decides to go overboard and almost reveals her magic, prompting Sunset to tackle her, ending the performance. Damn shame. It's a good thing the second verse is on the bonus features of the DVD release. The student body pretty much cheers her, being like, yeah, that's our bad girl that we know. Yeah, the Dazzlings then go even further to say that she did it in a fit of jealous rage, which Sunset vehemently denies, but the girls are kind of like, yeah, I mean, there were other things you could have done, close the curtains, unplug her amp, turn off the lights, let them handle the situation, but she reacted. It's not her fault fully. I mean, it is her fault, but I understand where she was coming from. But thanks to the Dazzlings' influence, the Rainbooms move on to the finals, much to Trixie's anger. Yeah, I agree, Trixie was robbed. But the Dazzlings do gaslight Trixie and her band into trapping the Rainbooms under the amphitheater to take their spot in the finals. While trapped underneath the stage, the tension between the girls finally comes to a boil, leading to a huge argument, which finally allows the Dazzlings to feed off of their magic. Sunset, realizing that this was their Dazzlings' plan all along, basically does this. And gives the girls a really good pep talk.
Ever since you started this band, you've been letting little things get to you. I never said anything because I didn't feel like it was my place. Not when I was so new to this whole friendship thing. I still have a lot to learn, but I do know that if you don't work out even the smallest problems right at the start, the magic of friendship can be turned into something else.
Then they're saved by Spike, and holy shit, Vinyl Scratch? Told you she'd be important. The girls decide to get the band back together to save the world using a song written by Fluttershy and outfits made by Rarity. Meanwhile, the Dazzlings are starting their final performance with their last song, Welcome to the Show, and during which they awaken their full powers and pony up? Well, no, they're like serpents, so scaly up? Yeah, we'll go with scaly up. The Rainboom show up on the hill across from the amphitheater and start a real battle of the bands with the help of Vinyl's car. It's no base cannon, but it'll do. And the best way I can describe this sequence is, you ever see the Battle of the Bands scene from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World? It's that in like the best way possible. The two bands go back and forth with their musical magic, and the girls pony up into new, beautiful glamrock toyetic forms. But the Dazzlings start to overpower them, and just as it looks like things are about to go south, Sunset Shimmer comes to the rescue with another great song. This is the moment where her arc comes full circle, and she realizes that everybody needs help, even princesses. God, I love this movie so much. And Sunset ponies up and adds her color to the rainbow, and it's such a good scene. And just like how Scott and Sexbomb summoned a giant Yeti to beat the Karianagi twins' double dragons, the Rainbooms use their power to summon a giant alicorn and blast the Dazzlings, shattering their amulets and leaving them as powerless teenage girls. Well, the day is saved, and Sunset is invited to join the Rainbooms, and Twilight returns to Equestria, but this time the portal is always open, so we can make as many sequels as we want. I mean, she can come back whenever she wants. Like I said earlier, Rainbow Rocks is typically considered to be the best Equestria Girls movie, and I can definitely see why. The story is a typical good versus evil, with villains that feel like an ever-present threat and a good inversions of the Rainbooms. And good God, the soundtrack is just amazing. They did not miss with any of these songs, seriously. Honestly, my only complaint with Rainbow Rocks is that it was over too soon. But it's a good thing that the writers were already working on another sequel. That's right, we get a post-credit scene of this world's Twilight investigating the strange happenings at Canterlot High School. An interesting cliffhanger that sets up my personal favorite Equestria Girls movie, The Friendship Games. Do I look preppy enough? Am I representing Crystal Prep? Friendship Games opens up with Sunset Shimmer running up to the stairs of Canterlot High School for an emergency that just turns out to be Rainbow Dash having a broken guitar string. Sunset gives her a replacement string, and the rest of the girls go inside to put on a bit of a show for the Cutie Mark Crusaders. Sunset stays behind outside to write in her journal to Princess Twilight, and while she's writing, she notices a strange hooded figure running up to the Wonder Cult statue, and she calls out to them, but before she can get to them, they run off and hop on a bus to the city. That is a very punctual bus. But it turns out the hooded figure was this world's Twilight Sparkle, that's right, the same one we saw in the post-credit scene from Rainbow Rocks, and is still investigating the strange goings-on at Canterlot High School from her basement lab at Crystal Prep Academy, the finest school in Canterlot. With one heck of a snazzy uniform. Okay, look, I couldn't afford the blazer, but the sweater vest will do, right? And while she's investigating her evidence board, we get the opening sequence for this movie set to a pep rally-like song, The Friendship Games. It gives me goosebumps every time. Daniel Ingram does not miss. I swear the man does not miss. Anyway, sorry. Lost my composure there for a second. We then cut to Sunset explaining to the other girls what she saw, but Rainbow Dash just rationalizes that whoever it was most likely just scouting for Crystal Prep in preparation for the annual Friendship Games, which is a friendly competition between the two schools that happens every 4 years. You know, it sounds like another special set of games that happens every 4 years, but Hasbro probably doesn't want to get sued because they really like suing people who use that word. CHS has lost every friendship game since the first one. I mean, yeah, I guess they are just better at everything. But Rainbow Dash has a plan for that, so they hold a pep rally to bolster school morale where Rainbow Dash treats us to our first song of the movie, and it's an awesome actual pep rally song, and it works. It bolsters the school confidence, and CHS is now confident that the Wonder Colts can bring it home. But interestingly enough, Rainbow Dash ponies up during her performance, which typically only happens when they're playing their instruments. After the pep rally backstage, Principals Luna and Celestia task Sunset Shimmer with keeping Magic out of the friendship games, since the last thing they'd want to do is have to forfeit because of magical intervention. And it is Sunset Shimmer's fault that Magic is in this world in the first place, since she brought Twilight's crown to CHS and Magic with it. If you couldn't already tell, this is Sunset Shimmer's movie. She has fully moved into the main character slot, especially since Twilight isn't present, or Princess Twilight isn't present in this movie. We then cut to Twilight at Crystal Prep, where she seems to be a bit of an outcast. And she's pretty much just season 1 Twilight. She doesn't know anything about friendship, and she keeps to herself and focuses solely on her studies. Dean Cadence comes in, and she looks alright, I guess. You know, I think I'm just starting to get a little numb to these designs finally. Like, my brain is just accepting them, so it doesn't seem as weird as Luna or Celestia, but again, I think I'm just getting used to them since I've been rewatching these movies so much in preparation for these videos. Dean Cadence informs Twilight that the principal would like to see her in her office, and along the way, Twilight sings our next song of the movie, What More That's Out There, which is a beautiful ballad and is what you would typically refer to in a musical as the I Want song, where whoever is singing it, be it hero or villain, is singing about what they want in life, their goals, their aspirations. And in this case, Twilight wants to learn more about the world because she knows that, well, there's more that's out there. Fun fact, this song was originally planned to be a duet between Twilight and Sunset Shimmer. It even went as far as to be recorded and storyboarded. But from what I could find, they reworked the original ending of the movie in order to allow them to make Legend of Everfree. So this song had to be reworked from a duet to a solo ballad, which I don't necessarily think is bad. It doesn't take away from anything, but from a thematic standpoint, I actually prefer the duet version because it really draws the parallels between Sunset and Twilight's character arcs in this movie, kind of yet again setting them up as dual protagonists. And maybe that was the point. Maybe they wanted Sunset to be more firmly cemented as the protagonist, but I don't know. I think it was a good idea to have it as a duet, but making it a solo doesn't really take away from the meaning of the song and its thematic purpose, so I'm just nitpicking. Twilight makes it to the principal's office, where Dean Cadence and her brother Shining Armor are waiting, along with the principal of Crystal Prep Academy, Abacus Finch, who I can't help but feel that name is a reference to Atticus Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird, but, you know, I wouldn't know. I've never read it. We read The Great Gatsby in my class, so. Principal Finch wants Twilight to compete in the friendship games, since she is the best academic student Crystal Prep has to offer. But Twilight is apprehensive to compete in the game since she's not really that good with other people, nor is she that competitive. But Principal Finch explains that since Crystal Prep Academy has won the friendship games every time they've been held, that Crystal Prep has a reputation to uphold. And she also, in no uncertain terms, threatens to have Twilight's independent study application denied. So, if you couldn't tell, she's the villain of this movie. Twilight agrees to compete in the friendship games and bring Spike and her magical tracking device along, in hopes that she can sneak in some research in between events. She then heads to the buses, where we are introduced to the team of students she'll be competing with, headed up by professional gaslighter Sour Sweet. Yes, that's her real name, and it's a little on the nose. So to avoid confusion from this point on, I'm going to be referring to this Twilight as Sci-Twi. short for Science Twilight, I'm assuming, in order to help differentiate her from Princess Twilight and not cause confusion. Once at CHS, Saitwai's device starts going off, and she follows it into the school where she is confused that everyone there already seems to know who she is and know her name. She also bumps into Flash Sentry, who is elated to see her, but she kind of just inadvertently curves him, and I kind of like seeing him get curved. Sorry, big guy. It's funny. She follows the readings all the way to the music room, where Rarity has ponied up due to her excitement over making outfits for the friendship games. And suddenly, Saitwai's device opens and sucks the magic out of Rarity, causing her to de-pony up. Saitwai then enters the room and the girls embrace her. But she's really confused because she doesn't know who any of these people are. But before anything else can happen, Principal Cinch shows up and whisks Saitwai away and warns her that she shouldn't get too close to those girls because they might just be playing nice to get into her head, which is very, very unhealthy mindset to have. The girls can't believe that their world's version of Twilight goes to Crystal Prep Academy, but I mean, come on guys, it's really not that far-fetched. Pinky literally called it in the first movie. Sunset expresses her worries that if they can't figure out how to control their magic, that they might end up having to forfeit the friendship games. And it would be her responsibility since, once again, she brought magic to the world with Twilight's crown. Sunset then has the bright idea of going through the portal to talk to Princess Twilight directly since she's still not answering her messages in the book. But as soon as she puts her hand on the portal, Saitwai's device opens and sucks out some of Sunset's magic and the portal along with it. We then cut to the gymnasium where there is a mixer going on between the students of both schools that's going over about as well as a fart in church. So, Sunset decides to confront Saitwai, but before she can get any answers, the other Crystal Prep students get in her face. And while they're arguing, Pinky whisks Saitwai away to help her liven up the party with confetti cannons and treats and lighting and music. And you know what? It actually works. The party comes to life and the two schools start intermingling and socializing. And Pinkie Pie is so elated that she ponies up. And of course, Saitwai's device opens and sucks the magic out of Pinky, causing her to deflate. But it also opens a small portal to Equestria underneath the bleachers that closes when Twilight closes her device. That's a little interesting. I'm sure it won't come into play later. The socializing and festivities come to an end when Principal Cinch gets up on stage and reminds the students that it is, after all, a competition. A little stiff there, but okay. Speaking of which, it's time for the first event of the Quadrennial Friendship Games, an academic decathlon set to the song ACADECA, or Acadeka. And I'm gonna be honest, my dumbass thought that this was like supposed to be spelling out the chord progression of the song, and I tried writing it out for way too long before I finally realized that, oh, it's Acadeka. It's short for Academic Decathlon. I am not a smart man. The event consists of your basic stuff: wood shop, home ec, spelling bees, and it all culminates in the final mathematic challenge with Saitwai versus Sunset. And Twilight wins, and Crystal Prep takes the first event, but they don't really seem too excited about it. I mean, I guess it is a given that we win as we are the superior school, but I mean, a little bit of cheering wouldn't hurt. But Sunset and the girls did manage to get enough points to move on to the next event and represent CHS. Also, it is just so funny watching her unknowingly curve Flash Sentry and him get all sad. Stick to horse girls, bro. It's clearly your strong suit. A Twilight once again follows her device, which brings her to Fluttershy, who helps her out by letting her hold Angel Bunny. And that act of kindness causes Fluttershy to pony up. Yeah, if you couldn't already tell, they pony up when they embody their elements. You know, Rainbow Dash ponied up because she was showing loyalty to her school, Pinkie Pie ponied up because she was planning a great party, and Rarity ponied up over fashion, and now Fluttershy is ponying up with an expression of kindness. Kinda makes sense when you think about it. Saitwai's device opens up and sucks the magic out of Fluttershy, causing more portals to open to Equestria, and then a jackalope jumps through the portal, which causes Spike to chase it through the portals, causing him to get zapped by magic, which then gives him the ability to talk. And here I thought Kathy Westluck was just gonna get paid to bark this time. Fluttershy then informs the girls that Sidetwi is going around just sucking everyone's shit silly style, just giving insane magical domes, Sunset Shimmer. The next event for the Friendship Games is then revealed to be a relay race consisting of archery, speed skating, and motocross. Ain't no way a public school can afford all this shit. Had to have been Crystal Prep that pitched in to pay for this stuff. We see during the event that Sidetwi is struggling to hit a bullseye during the archery section and is getting mercilessly bullied by Sour Sweet, almost to the point where she's driven to tears until Applejack has had all she can stand and jumps across to help Twilight hit a bullseye, which then inherently causes Applejack to pony up and then get her magic sucked by Twilight's device. But Twilight manages to fall and her device opens, causing more portals to Equestria to open up, allowing huge carnivorous plants to come through and flood the motocross track, which almost derails the race. Rainbow Dash turns around to help Sunset Shimmer and the other girl, and in turn ponies up and then distracts the plants while Sunset tries to win the race, which she does by a nose. Sidetwi manages to get the device to close, shutting the portals, and then sucks Rainbow Dash's magic by accident. She's clearly not doing it on purpose. Upon seeing this and finding out that all of this was due to Twilight's meddling, Sunset blows up on her.
You're supposed to be so smart, but did you ever think that you shouldn't be messing around with things you don't understand? But I want to understand. But you don't. And worst of all, you put the lives of my friends in danger. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yikes. A little bit of that mean girl still left in her after all, huh? The final event of the Friendship Games is a game of capture the flag. First team to find the other's flag and bring it back wins. And since both teams are 1 for 1, this is the tiebreaker and the decider. Principal Cinch and the other Crystal Prep students try to convince Sidetwi to open her device and use the magic to win the Friendship Games, arguing that, well, the other side is clearly using magic, so why shouldn't we? And we get what is essentially our villain song for this movie, Unleash the Magic. Cinch and the Crystal Prep students push Twilight to use the magic despite her not knowing how it really works. And by the end of the song, Sidetwi is fully ready to unleash the magic, pun intended, and use it against CHS to win the Friendship Games. By the end of the song, Twilight is convinced and opens the device, freeing the magic that she's stolen, which consumes her and turns her into a power-hungry monster, Midnight Sparkle, who then begins tearing holes in the fabric of reality to get to the magic in Equestria. A Sunset tries to reason with her, but she's unfortunately too far gone, until Sunset finally realizes what it is she needs to do, and uses the device to willingly gather her friend's magic and throws it to the ground, letting the magic consume her, turning her this time not into a raging she-demon, but into the beautiful Daylight Shimmer. And then shit goes down. Yeah, that's right. They start throwing down. And you wanna know why this movie's my favorite? Because the other ones don't have a fucking Dragon Ball Z beam struggle, okay? They seem to be evenly matched until Spike calls out to Twilight, causing her to falter slightly, allowing Sunset to get the upper hand. And I just love this scene. Because instead of blasting Midnight Shimmer into oblivion like the other girls did to her when she got consumed by magic, Sunset offers her hand to Twilight, telling her to take her hand because she knows what she's going through. She has been where she is now. She knows how enticing magic and the power it gives can be. But she defeats Midnight Sparkle, not with force, but with empathy and forgiveness, and offers Twilight a second chance, like Princess Twilight once did for her, bringing the lesson full circle. But Principal Cinch then tries to intimidate Principal Celestia by threatening to go to the school board about this, but they basically tell her, yeah, good luck getting them to believe that there was magical monsters and a talking dog. Cinch storms off with her tail between her legs, and CHS wins the Friendship Games. Sidetwi decides to transfer to CHS to study the magic of friendship with Sunset and the girls, and Sunset finally realizes why they pony up. Yeah, it was pretty obvious, like I said. Roll the credits, except this time we don't get a post-credit scene setting up the next movie. We instead just get a really fun post-credit scene explaining where Princess Twilight was this whole time and why she wasn't answering any messages.
I'm so sorry I didn't get her sooner. I didn't get your messages until just now because I was caught in this time travel loop, and honestly, it was the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. Make that the second strangest.
Yeah, that season 5 finale was crazy, huh? For me, Friendship Games is the best Equestria Girls movie, and I know that might be controversial to some, and while I will concede that Rainbow Rocks has a way better soundtrack, it just lacks in the story department where I feel like Friendship Games doesn't. I mean, yes, I talked about how in Rainbow Rocks, both Twilight and Sunset are set up as dual protagonists, and how the Dazzlings are great villains and inversions of the heroes, but other than that, there really isn't that much to Rainbow Rocks. I mean, if the ending of Rainbow Rocks didn't already solidify Sunset as the main character going forward, Friendship Games is a whole movie that solidifies it. Sideswipe is a great parallel to Sunset Shimmer in this movie, and like I said before, she's more akin to Season 1 Twilight, not being experienced in Friendship. But the parallel that's established between the two is that their common goal is that they both want to understand the equestrian magic that is now in their world. I know I keep saying that Sunset became the protagonist at the end of Rainbow Rocks, but realistically, it's solidified in Friendship Games where instead of obliterating Midnight Sparkle like Twilight and her friends did to her, she decides to forgive her. That really solidifies Sunset Shimmer as the protagonist and brings her arc to a nice full circle moment. To steal a term from professional wrestling, it's where her babyface turn is really complete and she's now solidified as the good guy. Abacus Cinch is not as extravagant of a villain as the Dazzlings, but she still serves the same narrative purpose. And she's more of a manipulator and a gaslighter, working in the background to have others do things for her. Let me put it this way, if the Dazzlings are Mother Gothel, using their music and voices to get others to do what they want, then Abacus Cinch is more like Judge Claude Frollo, manipulating Quasimodo, who in this case I guess would be Sideswipe. Somebody should draw that. That would be funny. Principal Cinch is a perfect representation of peer pressure, and I love her for it. She's just an unapologetic asshole who abuses her authority, all for the sake of maintaining her reputation. If you couldn't already tell by that doctoral thesis I just spouted about a children's movie that came out 9 years ago, I'm old. I really like this movie. You might think that since there wasn't a post-credit scene to set up another movie that's it. It's a perfect trilogy. But like most franchises, they just can't stop at a trilogy and decided to pump out one more subpar movie, Legend of Everfree. Well, here we are, the fourth and final film of the Equestria Girls quadrilogy, and it's,
I mean, it's alright, like, overrated as fuck, in my opinion.
I mean, look, it's no Rainbow Rocks or Friendship Games. Hell, I'd even say that it's slightly better than the first Equestria Girls, but again, that's my personal opinion. The movie opens with Twilight waking up late, which is very out of character for her. She's very punctual, and her friends come in to help her pack for the school trip. But while they're doing that, Midnight Sparkle shows up and literally just Thanos snaps her friends out of existence. No joke. And we pretty much get Twilight's arc for this movie stated outright, just right off the jump, that she's worried about Midnight Sparkle taking control again. But our premise for this film this time is that CHS is taking a school trip to Camp Everfree, and roll the opening credits as the bus rides on to the camp, set this time to a road song, Legend of Everfree. Well, honestly, it's pretty good. It's got nice road trip vibes to it. Not as good as Friendship Games or Rainbow Rocks, but you know. Still good. Well, they get off the bus at Camp Everfree, and so you notice how Rainbow Dash is wearing long pants here, and you notice how it looks way better than her wearing a skirt. I'm dying on this hill. I don't think she looks good in a skirt.
Flash, right?
Yep, that's me. And you're you. And we don't know each other very well. Cool story, bro.
Bro is just So awkward, man. It's not even the same horse girl. Well, we're then quickly introduced to the leaders, owners of Camp Everfree, Gloriosa Daisy and her brother, Timber Spruce. Timber Spruce. His name is Timber Spruce. What is he? An axeman? A woodsman? Fucking Timber Spruce. And some of these names get really stupid and really on the nose, but like Timber Spruce. Timber Spruce. What is his special talent? Cutting down trees? Well, I guess spruce is a type of wood, but timber? His name couldn't have been like Chestnut Spruce? Or maybe Chestnut's already a character. I don't know. I mean, at least Gloriosa Daisy sounds like a real name. A pretentious one, but a real name nonetheless. The best way I can describe Gloriosa Daisy is, have you ever talked to somebody who tries really, really hard to get you to like them and please everybody? That's Gloriosa Daisy in a nutshell. Twi, or I guess I can just call her Twilight now since Princess Twilight isn't in this movie. Twilight has a crush on Timber Spruce. Timber Spruce! Seriously, I'm sorry, I can't get over that. Somebody got paid to come up with that name, by the way. Just want to put that out there. Okay. Last time. I promise. Well, then Filthy Rich shows up out of nowhere, and this upsets Gloriosa, and she quickly shoos him away, saying that, well, he's just, you know, he's a camp alumni, just coming to check in on things. Yeah, he's not. We'll learn more about that later. The teens get paired up in their cabins, and well, what do you know? Sunset and Twilight get paired up in the same cabin. Although during this, we do see that Twilight is still pretty regretful for what happened at the friendship games. You know, her absorbing all a bunch of magic and turning into a power-hungry monster. It happens to the best of us. But all of a sudden, Twilight starts levitating stuff, which means that they're potentially developing new magic, much to Sunset's excitement and Twilight's chagrin. But Twilight manages to talk Sunset into keeping the new magic a secret until camp is over because, well, everyone's had their fair share of magical mishaps over the last year or so, and this is meant to be a fun getaway. Sunset leaves the tent and bumps into Gloriosa Daisy, and she hears a mysterious voice, and I'm sure it's nothing. Meanwhile, the camp dock gets shut down because it's, look at it, it's a death trap. But Applejack has the idea that for their camp gift, which is a tradition where each class that comes leaves a gift for the camp for future campers, that their camp gift will be building a brand new dock for Camp Everfree. There seems to be a little bit of tension between Gloriosa and Timber on the topic of the new dock. I'm sure that won't come into play later. Spoilers, I don't think it does. Or maybe it does. I don't know. You'll have to watch and find out. Flash Sentry is a little upset that this Twilight isn't into him like the horse version is, but I mean, what do you expect? It's a different lady. But Sunset does the right thing and basically gives him some tough love and tells him to get over it. Honestly, I think that's the best advice this guy's received all year. Also, Picasso canonically exists in the Equestria Girls universe.
I'm like the Picasso of noodles.
I don't really know what to do with that information. Does that mean he exists in Equestria as well? Is Horse Picasso real? The gang wraps up construction for the day and heads off to the next event, which is telling campfire stories. Ah, staple of camping. Timber Spruce recants the legend of Gaia Everfree, a malevolent nature spirit who claimed that one day she would return to take back the land the camp was built on. Well, that could potentially be our big bad. That'd be pretty cool. A magical threat. Well, I guess it wouldn't be that different from the Dazzlings, just another magical threat that was most likely banished from Equestria. Probably by Starswirl the Bearded. He likes doing that. Gaia Everfree, according to the myth, also leaves a trail of gem dust in her wake wherever she goes, and I'm sure that won't come into play because it's just a myth. Well, the girls talk about Gaia Everfree and theorize that, well, she could potentially be another creature that was banished from Equestria, but Applejack, being the mom of the group that she is, tells everyone that, nah, it's more likely that Timber Spruce just made that story up on the fly to make for a good story. The girls reiterate that they don't want another school event being ruined by equestrian magic like the Fall Formal, or the musical showcase, or the friendship games, which then prompts Twilight to feel bad and turn in early for the night, and Sunset reminds the girls that, hey, you know, she's still feels bad about that, maybe you should stop bringing it up. Speaking of Twilight, she wakes up the next morning with her bed and a bunch of other stuff in the tent levitating. More new magic. Sunset really wants to talk about this new magic, but Twilight really doesn't want to because she doesn't want to ruin the trip for everyone. Sunset tries to talk to Twilight about the new magic, but Twilight is just not having it, and before Sunset can protest, a boat suddenly crashes into the in-progress dock, which really sucks because they were coming along pretty good. And Twilight is convinced that she caused the boat to crash with her new magic somehow. It's possible, but a mysterious trail of gem dust left in the water points to Gaia Everfree. Well, unfortunately, the crash resets progress on the dock, and Twilight runs off into the woods, where she gives us our first song of the movie, a ballad, The Midnight in Me. It's a song about how she's still scared of Midnight Sparkle lurking deep in the recesses of her mind, and how she's afraid that Midnight Sparkle may take control and wreak havoc once again. Let me try to explain why I think this is the best song in the movie. You see, it got stuck in my head for like a week, and I found myself humming it and singing it to myself while at work. And while I was doing that one day, it kind of just struck me that, hey, this sounds familiar. At least like the purpose of the song felt familiar. And then it hit me. Jekyll and Hyde. It's Jekyll and Hyde the musical, in like the best way possible. Specifically, it reminds me of the song Confrontation, in which Dr. Jekyll confronts Mr. Hyde about the misdeeds he's doing, tainting his scientific work and his legacy. Obviously, it's not the exact same because it's not a song where Twilight and Midnight Sparkle go back and forth, but it's still the same thing about how her fear of an alternate personality taking hold and causing trouble. It just gives the same vibe, you know, but we'll put a pin in that because we're going to come back to that later. Twilight runs into Timber Spruce while she's in the woods, and as he's leading her back to camp, he drops the little tidbit that he once wished that his parents would sell the camp so he can move into the city and go to the mall. He was 10. But interesting, might be a motive of some kind for some dubious actions. Well, meanwhile, the rest of the girls are engaging in camp activities like rock climbing, and out of the blue, Applejack suddenly gets super strength and almost kills Rarity. And then when Applejack is apologizing, Rarity shoves her away accidentally with a crystal construct that pushes Applejack all the way into the lake. More new magic. But just as Sunset and Twilight are processing this fact, they hear Fluttershy screaming coming from the mess hall, and they rush to the mess hall to find Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie covered in pieces of sprinkle. Yeah, it turns out Pinkie Pie's new magic is that she can make sprinkles explode, but only sprinkles, it seems. And also, Fluttershy can talk to animals, which, I mean, yeah, that's fair. Her pony counterpart can do that no problem, so... And then all of a sudden, Rainbow Dash comes zipping in through the front door, slamming into the wall at high speeds. She's got super speed. Turns out when she ran off to go get a harness for rock climbing, she sped off back towards the city, made it about halfway back to Canterlot before her speed mysteriously stopped, but it came back once she got closer to camp. Which means there's probably something at the camp that's giving them these new powers. Possibly Gaia Everfree? Maybe it's Midnight Sparkle? Probably not, but maybe Gaia Everfree. Applejack tells the girls that they should just ignore the new magic until camp is over so they can all enjoy themselves, and once again Sunset reluctantly agrees, despite the fact that she's really interested in this new magic, and she's also the only one who hasn't developed a new power yet. Oh, sorry, it might be an element of harmony only thing, sweetie. Whatever, it's time to make paper lanterns, and Twilight starts keeping her distance from her friends because she believes that Midnight Sparkle is the cause of all the new magic. But later that night, Sunset wakes up to see that Twilight is missing from her bed and heads off into the woods to find her. She manages to track down Twilight right before she grabs a cab back to the city, and Sunset grabs Twilight's arm, and suddenly she sees everything. How Twilight has been feeling, and her fears about Midnight Sparkle. See, turns out that's Sunset's new magic, which I guess you'd call empathy? I mean, one of the writers of Equestria Girls did say that if there was an element of harmony for Sunset, it would most likely be empathy. Or, as I like to call it, the Deus Ex Machina built-in flashback machine. The two girls have a nice heart-to-heart and decide to head back to camp. I guess Timber Spruce is an axeman after all, because he shows up out of the blue wielding a fire axe, scaring the girls, but turns out he was just out gathering firewood. Morning, you Timber Spruce. You're a little sussy. As Timber is leading the girls back to camp, Sunset notices there's gem dust coming out of his pocket. Looks like we found our Gaia Everfree after all, gang. So Sunset rationalizes that Timber must be using the Legend of Gaia Everfree and staging all these events with the gem dust in order to try to drive people away to make the camp fail, so his sister will have to sell it and they can move to the city like he always wanted. The next day, the girls were having a lot of trouble working on the dock since AJ's going really slow because she doesn't want to punch holes through the boards while trying to nail them down, and Rainbow Dash is going really slow and bringing new pieces of lumber because she doesn't want to accidentally go speeding off into the woods. Again. You know, just girl problems. Sunset shows up and tells the girls that they should just embrace their new magic with another song titled, well, Embrace the Magic. And I just gotta say, man, I love Rebecca Soyket's voice. I gotta respect talent. I mean, the fact that you can sing as two different people and make it sound like two different people is just very impressive. So throughout the montage set to the song, the girls use their new magic to finish the new dock in no time flat. Sunset runs off to go find Twilight, but she ends up overhearing an argument between Gloriosa and Timber Spruce. She then runs into Flash Sentry, who thanks her for the tough love advice that she gave to him earlier. And they kind of do this weird thing here where they kind of hint at that Flash and Sunset might get back together at some point, but spoilers, they don't. This goes nowhere, and he rarely ever shows up in anything ever again after this. Rarely, or at least not in a speaking capacity. Sunset then follows Timber Spruce out into the woods to the rock quarry. Ooh, that is really hard to say. Rock quarry. Rock quarry. Rock quarry. Quarry? Rock quarry. No, quarry. Rock quarry. You know, the one he said that was off limits at the beginning of the movie. Sunset calls Twilight to meet her at the rock quarry later that night, where they find Gloriosa Daisy, who basically admits to being the cause of all the mishaps that happened, so it wasn't Twilight / Midnight Sparkle. Sunset grabs Gloriosa's arm and uses her new power to see that Gloriosa fell behind on payments on the camp, which is why Filthy Rich showed up, because he basically gave her a month to come up with the money she owes him, or else he's going to repossess the camp and bulldoze it to build a big fancy resort. Yes, the true villain of this movie, capitalism. Apparently, at some point, some equestrian magic hit the quarry, creating the magical geodes that give Gloriosa the power to control plant life. She tried to use the magic to make camp more exciting and better, but ended up instead causing all of the accidents that we saw. We also find out that Timber made up the Gaia Everfree legend in order to cover up for Gloriosa using the magic, and was spreading the gem dust to further cover her tracks whenever an incident occurred. So Gaia Everfree is just a myth. Twilight and Sunset try to reason with Gloriosa, informing her of the dangers of equestrian magic, but she doesn't listen and instead grabs the remaining geodes, which transform her into a monster that kind of resembles Gaia Everfree, actually. Gloriosa uses her newfound powers to trap the two girls in the cave with a giant boulder, and heads back to camp, where she gives us probably the best villain song out of all of these movies. We will stand for Everfree. Chills. Chills. Every time. Gives me chills. The rest of the girls try to use their newfound powers to save the other campers from being imprisoned in vines, and also try to break the vines that are wrapping around the camp. But every time they destroy them, they just come back. Meanwhile, Sunset is trying to convince Twilight to use her new magic to levitate the boulder out of the way so they can get back to camp and help their friends, but Twilight is still trepidatious because she's still worried that the magic will awaken Midnight Sparkle. Twilight finally steadies her nerves and uses her magic to move the boulder out of the way, and her and Sunset take off back towards camp. Meanwhile, at camp, Timber is trying to reason with Gloriosa, but she's just too far gone and he gets trapped in vines. Twilight and Sunset make it back to camp, and Twilight once again uses her new magic to pull the vines apart so they can get through to camp. Gloriosa manages to fully encapsulate the camp and everyone in it in thorns, but at the last minute, Rarity throws up a barrier to protect them. And Sunset once again pleads with Twilight to use her magic so she can pull the brambles apart and they can get the geodes away from Gloriosa. But Twilight just can't do it because she's still worried about Midnight Sparkle taking over, and Sunset, very platonically and not homosexually at all, grabs Twilight's hands and tells her that they won't let that happen, and it's a great moment.
You are not Midnight Sparkle!
No, I am Twilight Sparkle, and the magic I carry inside me is the magic of friendship.
Hell yeah, Twilight ponies up and uses her powers to pull the brambles apart and yank the geodes from Gloriosa's neck, and each one of them fly to the other girls, turning them into new beautiful superhero toyetic forms that I think are really fucking over-designed. But, what are you gonna do? Gotta sell toys, right? Well, Gloriosa confesses that yes, the camp is getting repossessed and there's nothing she can do about it, but the students of CHS come up with the idea to hold a fundraiser to reach out to past alumni for donations, and maybe they can make enough to save the camp. But Gloriosa states that there's no way they could organize something like that and send out invitations all in one day, but the girls use their newfound powers to do just that, holding the gala in the Crystal Caverns. And hey, the Rainbows even perform a new song, Legend You Were Meant to Be, which, it's a pretty good poppy song. The ball is a smashing success, and they manage to raise enough money to save Camp Everfree. No, come on. Kiss. Just kiss. Ah! Man, come on. Look, I don't like Timber Spruce, but even I kind of accept that they're kind of cute together. Well, as Sunset and Twilight are standing outside of the quarry, Sunset ponders one final question. Just exactly where did the magic that hit this cave come from? Well, we, the viewer, get an answer to that as we pan to the Wonder Cult statue at CHS, or at least what's left of it. See, turns out, when Midnight Sparkle destroyed the Wonder Cult statue at the Friendship Games, it caused a crack to form in the statue and presumably the portal, allowing equestrian magic to seep through, which is a great setup for a potential series. Look, Legend of Everfree is probably the second weakest entry in the franchise, in my opinion. I mean, it's not bad. It's not as bad as the first movie, but I don't know, it just doesn't really justify its own existence for me. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of things I liked about it. Twilight's arc throughout the movie being chief among them, with her being fearful of Midnight Sparkle taking over, but there's not really much else to it than that. It's kind of just a nothing burger. This could have been a special instead of a movie, and it would have had the same impact. But like I said earlier, Midnight in Me perfectly conveys Twilight's fear of being overtaken by Midnight Sparkle again. The girls getting new superpowers from the magical geodes is a nice, interesting touch that essentially turns this into even more of a magical girl story than it already was, and it will play a big part in the following specials after this. Gloriosa Daisy isn't as unapologetic of a villain as, say, the Dazzlings or Abacus Cinch, but she still serves the same narrative purpose of showing that even the best of people can be corrupted by equestrian magic. Absolute power corrupts absolutely, as they say. I will also add that the fake out of the Gaia Everfree legend, making you think that the big bad behind everything was going to be some sort of vengeful equestrian tree spirit, is a nice touch, but ultimately unnecessary. Since I had the thought earlier that Twilight's arc reminded me of Jekyll and Hyde, I figured I might as well go a little more in depth about what I meant and what I think would have been a potentially better story for this movie overall. I don't know, I just couldn't help but brainstorm it. So I would just go full Jekyll and Hyde, all in on the Jekyll Hyde Midnight Twilight Sparkle dichotomy. Just fully, and you can even keep the magical geodes. In fact, this version of the story I'm about to propose wouldn't really affect that at all. I would make it so that the geodes are what are giving Midnight Sparkle enough power to manifest and take control of Twilight. Have Midnight Sparkle periodically take control, have her do things that Twilight wouldn't normally do, have her, I don't know, mess with other campers by levitating things and moving things around, have her hit on Flash Sentry, because I think that would be funny to see him get really flustered. The girls will have to struggle with Twilight acting differently while also dealing with their newfound powers, until ultimately Sunset uses her new magic by touching Twilight and seeing that Midnight Sparkle has started to gradually take control. You can still have Gloriosa mucking about with the geodes, trying to make camp better, and it ultimately backfiring and still causing the accidents, and as a bit of a misdirect for Midnight Sparkle, but Twilight's struggle for control over her alter ego should be at the center. In fact, I wouldn't even change anything about the climax of this movie. I think it would still fit this version of the narrative perfectly, with Sunset and the rest of the girls banding together to help Twilight defeat Midnight Sparkle in her mind once and for all, fully taking control, no longer having to worry about her alter ego. But that's just what I would have done. Let me know what you think about that in the comments, or what you think this movie should have been. Ultimately, Legend of the Everfree is pretty inconsequential. That concludes the Equestria Girls movies. Thank you so much for coming down this walk on memory lane with me. Leave a like if you liked, and consider subscribing. And hopefully join me next time as we look at the Equestria Girls Specials, every single one. You see, after Legend of Everfree, it's speculated that Hasbro tried to get an Equestria Girls series off the ground as a full-fledged spin-off series, and that's where the first set of specials comes into play. 3 22-minute length episodes of a miniseries titled Tales of Canterlot High were released in 2017, not long after the release of Legend of Everfree. It didn't exactly take off, but that's where we're going to start, with the first special, or episode I guess. They're not really long enough to be specials. Dance Magic. Dance Magic actually picks up not that long after the events of Legend of Everfree, as the girls are running a car wash to raise money to help fund the repairs for Camp Everfree. Problem is, they've only raised about half the money they need with only a week left, and they've already exhausted pretty much all their fundraising options. They've already done dog walking services, bake sales, and now a car wash. But Rarity says to fear not, because she has a great idea to get all the money they need. In reality, she's got nothing. So she goes to the mall looking for inspiration, where she sees a video for a competition in which you just gotta make a dance video and original song, and you can win a cash prize. And said cash prize is more than double what they need to fix Camp Everfree. Seems like a win-win, but of course there's a catch. As Rarity's filling out her application for the competition, she runs into the Shadow Bolts from Crystal Prep, from Friendship Games, the good movie, as they're also signing up for the competition so they can use the prize money so they can host their school prom on a yacht. Yeah, that's exactly what prep girls would do. The only hitch in Rarity's plan is that in order to enter the competition, she'd have to use some of the money they've already raised for the entry fee. Rarity fills in the other girls on the plan, and they reluctantly agree, and their first rehearsal goes about as well as you'd expect for one of these specials. Rarity goes back to the mall and she notices the Crystal Prep Shadow Bolts over there practicing for their entry, and notices that they jacked her whole idea for the Rainbooms video. I mean, they're not good people. I don't know what she was expecting. There was a whole movie about how they were assholes. Rarity loses her confidence, but after a nice powwow with the girlies, man, I really do sound like a fucking dumbass sometimes, don't I? With Rarity's confidence restored, she and Twilight sneak into Crystal Prep to go confront the Shadow Bolts and tell them to change their video concept and do something original, which, of course, they refuse, because they're jerks. Again, whole movie where they're nothing but jerks. Just saying. So, now the girls are really down on their luck. They've got no video and no money. But our main 7 put their heads together, literally, to come up with a brand new concept for a video. Each of the girls have their own unique concepts, but none of them are good ideas for a dance video. So, Rarity storms off, being super upset, and goes to drown her sorrows in ice cream. Where it just so happens that the Shadow Bolts are sitting not that far away from her, complaining about the fact that despite having a great video idea and dance moves, that they lack an original song. So Rarity approaches the group of girls with a trade offer. You get an original song written by us, we get your choreography skills, and together we win the competition and split the prize money because it's enough to fix Camp Everfree and pay for Crystal Prep's yacht prom. The Shadow Bolts agree, and the two groups come together to shoot a video set to the original song, Dance Magic. And it's a pretty good song, but the part that killed me is when Pinkie Pie started rapping.
Doesn't matter what style you got, just keep dancing on that spot.
Go, white girl, go! Oh, I mean, I know she's pink, but you know what I mean. So, the newly formed Crystal Rainbooms win the competition, and all's well that ends well. You know, I gotta say, it's really nice to see these characters in more mundane situations. I mean, it's still a magical girl show, but it's just nice to see them in more everyday situations after 4 movies of, you know, fate of the world, big magical monster fight type deal, you know? The continuity is on point as well, showing that the Shadow Bullets actually did have some growth from Friendship Games, and also the nice continuity of saying, you know, Camp Everfree still needs help with the repairs. All in all, Dance Magic is a great start to this little mini-series, and it leads right into the second episode, Movie Magic. Movie Magic starts off with our main 7 getting invited to the set of the new Daring Do movie as thanks for saving Camp Everfree, since the director himself is a camp alumni. Each of the girls have their own sites they want to see on the movie set and split up to go see them. Rarity and Fluttershy go off to try to meet the lead actress playing Daring Do, Chestnut Magnifico, to see if she can sign Fluttershy's wildlife preservation petition, but she doesn't really seem to be in the mood to give out autographs right now. Applejack and Sunset Shimmer go off to take a closer look at the sets, where they find a mysterious candy bar wrapper that Sunset for some reason stuffs in her jacket pocket. Like, you could just throw that in the garbage. I would. Spike and Pinkie Pie go off to find a cupcake fountain. I don't even know how that would work, but whatever, magic. And Twilight and Rainbow Dash go off to look at the special props that were approved by AK Yearling herself. She's the author of Daring Do, by the way, and in the Pony universe, she is Daring Do. While looking at the props, Twilight and Dash run into Juniper Montage, the director's niece, who says that 1, she knows the lot like the back of her hand, and 2, that she's a little mad at her uncle because she wanted to be cast as Daring Do. Really weird and personal thing to say to someone you just met, but okay. Meanwhile, Pinkie and Spike witness Chestnut Magnifico giving the director a hard time, saying that she wants off this project and they're running out of time. I mean, the project is also over scope and over schedule, but you know, that's Hollywood for you. To top it all off, the volcano set collapses during a scene, and the relics that were approved specifically by AK Yearling have been stolen. The girls put their heads together and try to think of who would want to steal the relics. And, well, Rarity and Fluttershy point out that Chestnut Magnifico seems pretty unhappy being on the project, and maybe she stole the relics so the movie would be canceled and she can get out of her contract. And the wrapper that Sunset and AJ found on the volcano set earlier is one of Chestnut Magnifico's favorite chocolate bars, so the evidence so far points to Chestnut being our culprit. But just before they could confirm that Chestnut is their gal, they notice a mysterious figure sneaking around the sets, and they give chase. But they lose sight of the figure, who seems to really know their way around the film sets. But before the girls can fan out and keep looking for the culprit, they get swept away by a stagehand and put into Power Ponies costumes. That is a really deep Season 4 reference. That's like a random episode from Season 4. Also, I think it's really funny that because there were only 6 Power Ponies, they dress Sunset up as the main Yak, which is actually like their arch enemy. They see the hooded figure once again and give chase across multiple sets until they get trapped under a net, all except for Dash, who gives chase and ends up getting locked in a utility closet, where she ends up finding one of the missing costumes. The rest of the girls escape from the netting, and luckily enough, Dash stepped in a puddle of pudding and left a trail for the girls to follow to the locked door, which Twilight uses her magic to unlock. You know, magical lockpicking is a really useful skill. By this point, Twilight says she has a pretty good idea of who the real culprit is, and has also deduced that they haven't yet had time to take the relics off the set yet, so they must still be hidden somewhere. And she ends up being right, as they use the director to set up Juniper Montage, who they catch red-handed taking the relics off set. Juniper's uncle forgives her, but he bans her from being on set and takes her ID badge and keys. Also, it turns out that Chestnut Magnifico was upset about being signed on for some boring nature documentary, and that's what she was yelling at her agent about, and is fully committed to Daring Do until the end. As thanks for saving the production, the director gives the girls bit parts in the movie. You know, honestly, this one was a really fun Scooby-Doo type episode. Nice chase scenes, nice premise, fun mystery, nice niche Power Ponies reference. But it really serves to tee up the finale of this trilogy, Mirror Magic. Juniper Montage is back with a vendetta as she blames the girls for her losing her job and her uncle demoting her to working at a local movie theater. But while on a lunch break, she finds a mirror that happens to get hit with equestrian magic that shows her reflection as a famous movie star. Ego much? Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just a mirror. We then see Sunset as she's writing a note to Princess Twilight in her journal, and in her inner monologue she expresses that she's worried because things have been pretty quiet on her side of the portal magic-wise, and it's making her worry. But as she finishes her message, she realizes she's run out of pages in her journal, but Princess Twilight writes back, actually asking for Sunset to come see her in person in Equestria. We then cut back to Juniper, where we see as she finds out that the mirror she has gained the ability to suck things up as she wishes them away. Okay, now that might be a bit of a problem. Meanwhile, Sunset takes a step through the portal and wow, you know, it has been so long since we've seen Sunset's pony form, but instead of being met with Princess Twilight, she's met with her student, Starlight Glimmer, who gives her a brand new journal courtesy of the princess. And you know what? It's kind of nice to see these two characters interact, considering this is the only time it ever happens. Like this one time. In the shows, anyway. After a brief conversation, Sunset turns to go back to her world, but Starlight starts asking questions and eventually asks if she can come back with Sunset, just for a little bit. And Sunset's reluctant, but, you know, she hasn't seen a version of Starlight over there, so yeah, it's probably fine, and the two head through the portal together. And now I can proudly say Equestria Girls Starlight Glimmer is real and she can hurt you. But I gotta say, she took this whole human thing way better than Twilight did in the first movie. But to be fair, Starlight does have Sunset here to help her kind of process it and keep her up to speed with how things are around here. We then cut to Juniper, who's trying to figure out how the mirror works because it's not exactly clear. Magic is weird like that sometimes. But suddenly, the rest of the girls show up, causing Juniper to freak out and wish that they would go away, causing them to get sucked into the mirror. Okay, now it's definitely a problem. Anyway, Sunset is showing Starlight around the mall while her friends wake up in a void, utterly alone.
All alone.
Starlight and Sunset notice Juniper wearing Fluttershy's hair clip, and Sunset tells Starlight to wait while she goes and confronts Juniper, who then promptly sucks Sunset into the mirror, leaving Starlight on her own. With all 7 of the magical geodes in the mirror, it gets supercharged and turns Juniper Montage into a 7-foot-tall, looks-maxing monster who sees everyone around her as either paparazzi or adoring fans. Starlight tries her best to get the mirror away from Juniper, but causes her to drop it, which causes it to start to crack, which also causes cracks to form in the void where the girls are. Starlight tries to reason with Juniper, but she's just not really having it, so Starlight just decides to play keep away with the mirror until she can figure how to get her friends out. But Starlight eventually manages to talk Juniper down with an appeal to reason that would bring a tear to Princess Twilight's eye. Juniper apologizes and the girls tell her not to worry about it in like the funniest way possible.
Manipulated an entire town into giving up their talents so they wouldn't think they were special. Overpowered by magic I couldn't control and created a rift between 2 worlds, almost destroying both of them in the process.
Turned an entire school into my own personal zombie army in hopes of conquering a distant pony world.
Wow, we are a really forgiving group.
And before Starlight can head back to Equestria, Princess Twilight writes back saying that maybe it'd be a good idea for Starlight to stay just a little longer to learn how friendship works in that world. I'm gonna be honest, I really like this one. Seeing Starlight Glimmer in the Equestria Girls universe, even if it was just for like 15 minutes, was still awesome. Bringing Juniper Montage back as a vengeful villain from the previous episode works great for continuity, and the magic mirror works well enough as a way to get the girls out of the story, allowing for Starlight to save the day with the power of friendship. All in all, Tales of Canterlot High is a really fun continuation of the Equestria Girls storyline set up at the end of Legend of Everfree. From here, Equestria Girls would pretty much become a sort of internet-only show with, like, YouTube shorts, and not YouTube shorts as we know it now, but I mean, like, really short videos that were kind of like choose your own adventure things, with like character A having a problem and then character like B, C, and D having different solutions, and then, you know, character A just kind of sits there like as, like, you know, annotations appear for the different endings, which is well and good. I'm not talking about those because there's like a shit ton of them, but you get the idea. And on top of these little short videos, there would also be a series of music videos, and some of them are really great. I recommend Run to Break Free. It's a great song that really serves Equestria Girls Rainbow Dash's characters. Yes, I'm biased. Out of these shorts would come 4 more specials that would be broken up into multiple parts on YouTube. They're each standalone specials this time, with their own self-encapsulated stories under the title of the Equestria Girls Better Together series, which is what I could find. I couldn't find anything official about it, but that's what the official YouTube channel calls it, so I guess that's what we'll go with. The first special being Forgotten Friendship, or at least that's one of its titles. It's also gone by the name of Most Likely to Be Forgotten and Sunset Saga, but the official YouTube upload that compiles all the parts into one video calls it Forgotten Friendship, so that's what we're going with. And hey, at least these ones have full-on openings. God, you can really tell the team behind these wanted to make an actual series, but Hasbro just said no. Anyway, Forgotten Friendship opens with Sunset Shimmer going around Canterlot High, taking various photos for the yearbook while singing a song. It's a really sweet song about friendship over the years and how it's gotten stronger, and it goes on until Sunset bumps into a random girl who turns out to be Wallflower Blush, who was there the whole time, even for the song. The girls win the best friend superlative, which, yeah, checks out. Their friendship has quite literally saved the world like multiple times in one year. The girls make plans to meet at the beach tomorrow to take their pictures for the yearbook for the best friend superlative and leave Wallflower Blush in the dark. Oh, I get it. Wallflower Blush, because she's a wallflower. She's there and no one remembers her or notices her. I see it, I get it. The next day, the girls meet at the beach to take their picture, and Sunset shows up, but the girls are for some reason wary of her, almost like all of their good memories of Sunset have disappeared, and that's because they have. Sunset uses her powers to prove it. So, someone or something has erased Sunset's friends' memories of her, which prompts Sunset to open her journal and write to Princess Twilight asking if they're friends, to which Princess Twilight replies,
Of course we're friends.
So it's not affecting Equestria. A Sunset decides to go talk to Princess Twilight in person. Well, not person, they're ponies, but you know what I mean. And Princess Twilight doesn't really have any idea what could have caused her friend's memory loss, so she decides to take Sunset Shimmer to Canterlot to ask Princess Celestia. I just love that. It's like, yeah, I don't really know what's causing this. Let's go ask God. But honestly, I love this scene. Sunset and Celestia have such a nice, heartfelt reunion. Damn it, Equestria Girls, why do you gotta be good? Celestia states that she isn't really familiar with any kind of spell that could do that kind of memory erasing, but suggests that there might be something in the Canterlot archives. In the restricted section, the realization that there's a restricted section almost sends Twilight into cardiac arrest, which is just super in character and adorable for her. But unfortunately, the index machine is broken, which means Sunset and Twilight will have to look through every single scroll and book in the restricted section to hopefully find the answer to the problem, which Twilight is just thrilled about, because she's a book nerd. Eventually, Princess Twilight finds a scroll talking about the trials of Clover the Clever, in which Clover the Clever steals a memory stone which is capable of erasing memories from an evil sorceress and hides it in the human world. Only problem is, the scroll doesn't say where Clover hid it. So, Sunset goes back, now knowing what the memory stone looks like. It looks like a Sheikah stone, by the way. Just gonna put that out there. And goes to confront Trixie because she believes that Trixie found the stone and erased her friend's memories. In fact, it's not just her friend's memories now, it's the entire school's good memories of Sunset Shimmer that have been erased. But despite Trixie having a bone to pick with Sunset about not putting her in the yearbook as the greatest and most powerfulest superlative, Trixie has no idea what Sunset's talking about, so Sunset is back at square one. Honestly though, Trixie and Sunset have a bit of a heart-to-heart, and Trixie agrees to help Sunset find whoever erased everyone's memories in exchange for being put in the yearbook as the greatest and most powerfulest, of course. Meanwhile, back in Equestria, Twilight finds the missing part of the scroll, which shows that Clover the Clever buried the memory stone in the human world somewhere near Canterlot High School, and also states that if the memory stone isn't destroyed by sundown, the erased memories will be gone forever. Sunset and Trixie managed to narrow down the culprits all the way down to Wallflower Blush. Sunset also gets the message in her book about the memory stone's time limit, which only serves to add to crunch time. So they go to confront Wallflower Blush, where Sunset notices a picture of the rock formation where Clover the Clever buried the memory stone, and that picture was taken by Wallflower Blush. Sunset uses her powers on Wallflower Blush to see that she was there in the background the whole time through a bunch of big important stuff and no one ever remembers her, and that she found the memory stone and used it to erase everyone's good memories of Sunset because she wants Sunset to also know what it feels like to be forgotten. But you didn't erase everyone's memories of her, like all the memories of her. You just erased the good memories. They still know who she is, they just think she's the same arrogant person she was in the first movie. Wallflower admits to using the stone and starts singing a song called Invisible, which is honestly, it's a great song that gets interrupted when Wallflower notices Sunset digging through her bag looking for the stone. God, they're 2 for 2 with like interrupting these songs, which shows that these are actually just them singing. But Wallflower has the stone in her pocket and uses it to make Trixie and Sunset forget the confrontation ever happened and locks them in the yearbook room. But thankfully, Sunset was smart and used Twilight's drone, which was in the room, to record the confrontation so she remembers. And Trixie uses her sleight of hand magic and the old magician's exit to get Sunset out of the room so she can go confront Wallflower and hopefully destroy the stone before sundown, which is quickly approaching. Sunset catches up to Wallflower in the parking lot, where the other 6 girls also happen to be, and confronts her, in which Wallflower just explodes, saying that, you know what, she hates Sunset Shimmer, and hate is a very strong word, and decides to try to use this stone to erase her friend's memories of high school in its entirety. But Sunset jumps in front of the blast and loses all of her memories, and man, it's kind of a little sad. She thinks she's back in Canterlot and is asking for Princess Celestia. It's kind of sad. Seeing Sunset sacrificed, the girls realize that even though they don't remember her, only a real friend would sacrifice themselves like that. And they pony up and blast the memory stone, destroying it and releasing the forgotten memories, saving the day. You know, this special was actually a genuine treat. Seeing Sunset reconcile with Princess Celestia was actually like way better than I thought it would be, and the memory stone served as a well-enough plot device to drive the plot forward and also put a time limit on things. Honestly, the biggest takeaway from this special is that I never knew that I needed to see Sunset Shimmer and Trixie Lulamoon together until this happened. I mean, their dynamic is kind of similar to Starlight and Trixie from the main show, but like, honestly, they have a good buddy cop dynamic, I gotta admit. And now look, I've seen entire video essays on why Wallflower Blush sucks as a villain, and I kind of agree. I mean, her motivations are kind of dumb and pointless, and it just doesn't really make sense. But other than that, she's a fine enough character to serve as an antagonist. Honestly, all in all, this was a very enjoyable watch. I can't believe these are free on YouTube. Now, let's move on to the next special, Roller Coaster of Friendship. Roller Coaster of Friendship opens with Applejack and Rarity applying for summer jobs at the new theme park, Equestria Land, which, I mean, what is that even? Is it an, like, horse theme park? Where everything is, like, equine themed. They both applied to be Caramel Apple Girls, but in a stroke of luck, Rarity ends up getting hired as the lead costume designer for the opening parade. But unfortunately, Applejack doesn't get hired as a Caramel Apple Girl, or at all for that matter. So out of principle, Rarity says she's going to turn down the job, but Applejack tells her, no, this is your dream, go ahead and do it, which is what good friends do. So Rarity accepts the job and starts working under Vignette Valencia, who has 3 million followers on Snapgap. Yes, how do you do, fellow kids? We are hip, and with it. Well, opening day rolls around and Rarity gives her friends VIP passes to come check out the park. Yeah, and almost immediately Applejack does not vibe with Vignette at all, probably because she notices her girlfriend has a crush on her. I can say that because Rarajack is canon. One of the writers confirmed it. Rarajack is a thing in the Equestria Girls universe. But on the bright side, Vignette does book the Rainbooms to perform at the opening parade, so maybe this could be their big break. The girls split off into pairs to go explore the park before the big performance, but unfortunately Rarity doesn't have time for Applejack because she's too busy, much to Applejack's dismay, but she doesn't voice her concerns to Rarity because she doesn't want to rain on her parade and ruin her dream. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that in the opening of the special, which I didn't show, Vignette's phone got hit by some equestrian magic, giving her the ability to customize things. And she uses her phone to suck Fluttershy into a magical void. You know, if I had a nickel for every time one of these girls got sucked into a magical void, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Meanwhile, Sunset and Twilight are trying to beat the Flim Flam Brothers' rigged carnival game Ring Toss with the power of science. And it's honestly just a really funny B-plot. Applejack is walking around the park looking for Fluttershy because no one's seen her since she wandered off with Vignette, but nobody really seems that concerned that she's missing, except for Applejack. Applejack manages to gain access to the security room thanks to a fake badge given to her by Pinkie Pie, and sees Rainbow Dash get sucked into Vignette's phone on the cameras. Meanwhile, Rarity is super stressed since they're running behind schedule, and they're just hours away from the opening parade, and Vignette gives her the order to start everything from scratch again. Jeez, I would lose my marbles if she were my supervisor. AJ tries to warn the others about Vignette, but she actually swapped out her phone beforehand, so Applejack just kind of looks like an idiot and Rarity is left with egg on her face. Which then leads to Rarity and Applejack having a heated argument that ends in hurt feelings. Meanwhile, Vignette is trying to hijack the Rainbooms by telling them how to dress and what to play and what characters to play, and when they decline to do any of that, she just sucks them into her phone so she can customize them. Rarity finally confronts Vignette, who admits to everything and tries to zap Rarity with her phone, but Rarity deflects it using her magic. Rarity quickly runs off and finds Applejack, where they make amends. You see, kids, the key to a healthy relationship is communication. The Twilight uses her technical know-how while they're in the tech void to hack Vignette's phone and call Applejack to give her a plan to get them out. But it turns out that the phone doesn't actually suck you in, it just teleports you to a random location in the park, which just so happens to be a white room, with the door unlocked. But the girls realize that if for whatever reason, if Vignette gets fed up with the crowd reaction at the parade, she might try to use the phone on them, and if that many people get teleported into this small of a room, it's gonna cause some problems. We then cut to the parade, and all right, listen, look, I'm a very normal, well-adjusted person, but like, goth Fluttershy just, I'm normal, I promise. As expected, the crowd gets fed up with Vignette singing, and she's about to take a picture of them to teleport them away when the girls show up and save the day. They pony up and zap Vignette's phone, destroying it and releasing the magic. Saving the day yet again. The girls sing a song, and look, honestly, I don't really ship characters like that, but you can't tell me Rarajack isn't a thing here, okay? Rarajack is real. Come on, they're giving each other such loving looks. Like, okay, maybe I'm reading into it too much. You tell me. Let's just move on to the next special, and my personal favorite, Spring Breakdown. Well, it's spring break, and the girls are on board a yacht trip organized by Twilight. Everyone is having a great time, except for Applejack, who is horribly seasick. And Rainbow Dash, who is hoping that some equestrian magic will rear its ugly head so she can see some action. Seriously, she's so obsessed with fighting any kind of evil magic that she ends up ruining the vacation for everyone else. I mean, it gets to the point where Sunset finally snaps and lays into Dash, telling her to stop looking for problems where there are none, and that she's ruining the vacation for everyone. Later in the day, the Rainbooms play a concert and pony up to give a sick laser rainbow light show, but then all the lights on the ship blow out and the ship's engine starts to fail. Twilight goes off to try to fix the engine while Dash goes off to try to look for the equestrian magic that she thinks is at play. A nasty storm is brewing over the ship and Dash swears that she almost sees some sort of mysterious symbol in the water. I'm sure it's nothing. Dash uses her speed to quickly gather up the girls, well, more like kidnap really, and try to show them the symbol, but in typical cartoon fashion, by the time she gets them all there, the symbol is gone. Okay, here's something I don't understand. They have cell phones here. Why didn't Dash just snap a picture of it? I know the answer is because the plot. She's being written stupid for the sake of the plot, but my point still stands. Nobody believes Rainbow Dash, of course, which prompts her to take off in one of the ship's lifeboats to search for the source of the magic that she knows is out there. Twilight begins to feel guilty about how she treated Rainbow Dash, so she and Sunset go looking for Dash and find the missing lifeboat, so they take another lifeboat and go off looking for her, which brings them to a deserted island where they find the other lifeboat and a very talkative parrot that sounds familiar.
Well, my name isn't Rainbow Dash.
They find Rainbow Dash, who's stuck in quicksand that also just so happens to be guarded by a giant magical carnivorous plant. Twilight uses her magic to hold back the carnivorous plant, while Sunset tries desperately to get Dash out of the quicksand, but before she can, the plant breaks free of Twilight's magic, so Sunset just does something drastic.
See you soon! I'll explain later.
1, 2, 3.
Turns out the quicksand was actually just another portal to Equestria. What are the odds? Twilight freaks out upon seeing that she's been transformed into a pony, which gives me a bit of deja vu, but the girls decide that maybe this could be their vacation instead. But meanwhile, back in the human world on the ship, the storm that's brewing is getting even worse. Sunset manages to sneak both Dash and Twilight through Ponyville. Man, seeing another version of yourself has gotta be pretty surreal. And they make it to Princess Twilight's castle. Applejack manages to reconnect the engines back in the human world, and the ship takes off out of control and gets struck by a bolt of lightning that just so happens to knock out the ship's steering. But wait, there's more. While it's running out of control, the ship hits a rock and starts taking on water. Oh, this is just going great. Yeah, anyway, back in Equestria, Princess Twilight is regaling the girls with some of her and her friends' feats of heroism, like, remember the movie? Remember the movie? Please watch the movie. We'll get to the movie eventually, don't you worry, I have plans for that. So it turns out that some of the Storm King's magic escaped to the human realm, where it's causing the giant thunderstorm that's brewing that also just so happens to take out all the lifeboats. That is a very precise thunderstorm. Thankfully, the three girls managed to show up just in time with the Storm King staff to absorb the magic and dissolve the dangerous thunderstorm. But yeah, there's still the problem of the ship sinking. So Rainbow Dash uses her super speed to get the girls back to the ship, where they all use their powers to help evacuate all of the passengers and crew, using Rarity's magic to make lifeboats to get to the nearby island. Now, one question still remains. Without the boat, how are they going to get home?
A little more on the left. A little more. Perfect.
Phew!
We're back.
Hopefully you can see why this is my favorite of the specials. I mean, anytime we get to go see Equestria is always fun, and Twilight and Rainbow Dash being there makes it about 20% cooler. I'm sorry. I had to. Also, I think it's really cool, a nice way to acknowledge the events of My Little Pony the movie by having the Storm King's magic be the cause of the storm running amok in the human world. It's just a nice little bit of continuity, you know? Plus, that ending scene on its own is more than enough to put this at the top of my list. So, now we move on to the final Equestria Girls special. I mean, technically there's Holidays Unwrapped, but that That's just a bunch of shorts that are holiday themed that are stitched together into one like 40-minute video. It's not really a special. But we move on to the final special, Sunset's Backstage Pass. Sunset's Backstage Pass opens with the girls being camped out for the Star Swirl Music Festival, so they can hang out and so Pinky and Sunset can see their favorite duo, Post-Crush, who's coming back from an indefinite hiatus. But just about anything that can go wrong does, as Sunset gets whacked in the butt by Rainbow Dash, steps in mud, gets stuck in a long line, gets dragged off by Pinkie Pie's antics into a maze that ends up with them getting bombarded by paint. Finally, Pinkie drags Sunset away for churros and causes so much chaos that they end up getting kicked out of the festival before Post-Crush even goes on. Which is the whole reason they were there in the first place. Well, at the end of the night, when she's alone overlooking the festival, Sunset looks up to the stars and wishes she could have a do-over, and yeah, you can see where this is going. It's Groundhog Day. It's your basic time loop story. She wakes up the next morning, quote-unquote, and everything just about plays out the same and gives her the oddest sense of deja vu. But the next time around, Sunset goes off on her own, completely ditching and avoiding Pinkie Pie, and actually manages to snag a front row seat to see Post-Crush, and everything pretty much goes off without a hitch, except for Pinkie going just the slightest bit Pinkamena when she figures out that Sunset ditched her and avoided her the whole day. But hey, it was worth it, right? Post-Crush. Unfortunately, the loop doesn't stop after Sunset manages to see Post-Crush. In fact, it keeps going so many times to the point where Sunset can quote and predict pretty much everything that's going to happen throughout the day. Yeah, it's, again, Bill Murray from Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. While Sunset figures that the time loop must be tied to the campground somehow, so she attempts to hijack their camper and drive off in the middle of the night, but it breaks down. And they're stuck, so she tries to tell her friends about the time loop, but again, they forget every time it loops. Eventually, Sunset tries to message Princess Twilight, who after a few more loops manages to finally message her back, and it turns out that another lost equestrian artifact must be at play here, the Time Twirler. And the interesting thing about it is it's a manually activated artifact, which means someone has most likely found it and is using it to loop the day over and over again. And you'll never guess who the writers throw in as a red herring here. That's right. The Dazzlings are back, and potentially behind the time loop, but in order to find out, the girls are going to have to make their way backstage to stake out their van, which they manage to do next time around since Sunset bribes the guard with a kitten. Sunset goes in to search the Dazzlings' van, leaving Pinkie Pie on guard to look for the Time Twirler, but Pinkie ends up getting lured away by those damn churros again, and Sunset ends up getting caught by the Dazzlings. Turns out, the Dazzlings aren't behind the time loop, and Sunset kind of gets angry and goes off on Pinkie Pie, causing her to cry. Riddled with guilt the next time around, Sunset decides to just go with whatever Pinkie Pie wants to do. All the crazy things. The maze, the paint, the tandem bike, the churros. But surprisingly, everything seems to work out with the churros since they get told to deliver churros to Post-Crush backstage. So, Chekhov's churro? Paying off? Fancy that. If Sunset just embraced the chaos of her and Pinkie Pie's friendship, all of this might have happened the first time around. It's almost like that's the moral of the story or something. Sunset uses her powers on Post-Crush, and wouldn't you know who won the pony? Turns out Post-Crush found the Time Twirler in a nearby stream and have been using it to loop the day over and over again until they get the absolute perfect performance. Well, Post-Crush threatens to not only keep the time loop going, but to have Pinkie and Sunset banned from Star Swirl for life, so that means tonight is the last chance to break the time loop. But thankfully the security guard lets them back in, as thanks for Sunset understanding that security is an art form. The duo confronts Post-Crush yet again, and Chekhov's churro comes into play one more time. The ensuing fight spills out onto the stage, and Sunset manages to get a hold of the Time Twirler and step on it, destroying it and breaking the time loop once and for all. After giving a quick pep talk to their idols, the Pinkie and Sunset are rewarded by getting to play on stage with their idols Post-Crush to an awesome song called True Original. Honestly, I do like this song. I don't think Equestria Girls really missed with any of the songs. So the time loop is broken, the day is saved, and Pinkie and Sunset got to play on stage with their idols. Seems like a win-win. This one was a bit cliche, but fun nonetheless. I mean, what can I say? I'm a sucker for some good old timey-wimey stuff. Pinkie and Sunset's dynamic in this is chaos and order mixing together harmoniously to make for some amazing and funny moments. But by far, the highlight of the special was finding out that the Dazzlings are back and still performing thanks to the magic of vocal processing. Equestria Girls is one of those weird pop culture phenomenons you just kind of had to be there for in the 2010s, and it wouldn't really have existed if it weren't for two factors. One, Friendship is Magic's explosion in popularity, and two, the passionate bronies who pushed for it to exist in the first place. Seriously, I don't think anything like this will ever happen ever again with the My Little Pony brand, because it was a huge risk. A risk that paid off, but a huge risk nonetheless. It's kind of crazy how it went from a weird spin-off movie made just to sell toys to a full-fledged spin-off series with its own original characters and world building. And hell, even to this day, depending on who you ask, some people might actually still prefer these versions of the main six over the ones from Friendship is Magic. Hell, it was so popular that the music videos and shorts kept coming out all the way until G4 ended in 2019. So it obviously had passionate fans. I mean, honestly, after all this, I'm left with one question. When's G5 Equestria Girls, Hash Bro? I'm waiting.